We see it all the time in media. Big cities can be a lively neon fever dream to those aspiring to make it in a big city, or they can be a nightmare, harboring those with dark intents. In 1976, a young girl named Cesilia Pena vanished from New York City while commuting home from school. Then, later that year, another child, Nelida del Valle, disappeared from Boston, Massachusetts. 2 Hispanic girls in different cities would lead investigators to one monster, but the case remains officially unsolved. Today on Dark Matters, the disappearance of Cesilia Pena and Nelida del Valle. Young Cesilia Pena lived with her family in New York City, specifically the Bronx, in 1976, and each day she had a specific public commute to make to get to school and back home again. It was on the way home on October 6, 1976, that her normal route deviated. Normally, she took the number 2 train to 149th Street Station, traveled 5 stops to the Simpson Street Station, then took the number 5 bus home every day. But on this day, she seemingly vanished before ever returning home. The 14-year-old student at St. Alphonsus Commercial High School was last seen by friends between 3 and 4 p.m. on the number 2 train at 149th Station, her first stop on the journey home. After that, her friends and family never saw her again, and she never came home. Several days after going missing, only one spark of hope came to light: a witness sighting. The witness told Cecilia's family they'd seen her on the corner of 163rd Street and Southern Boulevard with a man named Anthony Flores, a resident in the nearby area of the Bronx. Anthony, or Rudy Flores, as he was often called, allegedly had a hold of Cecilia's arm, and the young girl looked frightened of her companion. Something the publication The Medium pointed out is how the sighting is less than a half-mile from Intervale Avenue Station, which is one stop before Simpson Station, where Cecilia's usual route took her. If that is, in fact, where she encountered Rudy Flores, it's unknown why she would have departed at the wrong station. However, if she did get off at Simpson and encountered Flores afterwards, she would have had to travel 0.6 miles without making enough fuss to draw attention. Flores, despite being spotted with the young girl, denied any involvement and said he was not with Cecilia that day. Despite heavy belief that he was involved, there have been no formal charges brought against him due to a lack of evidence. However, the tragedy that strangely followed him was far from over. Just 9 years old, resident of Boston, Massachusetts, Nelida del Valle was a timid and reserved child whose first language was Spanish, though she knew some English. Her immediate and prevalent distrust of strangers, however, didn't keep her safe while walking to school to William Blackstone Elementary on the morning of December 20th, 1976. The third grader, somewhere in the 1.5 blocks away from her destination, vanished just months after Cecilia's disappearance. It seems investigators had enough witness testimony to draw up a sketch of a possible suspect. That sketch circulated in the area, and 2 weeks later, police had a trail to follow. A woman contacted authorities after Anthony Rudy Flores offered to give her a hat and a pair of gloves. Immediately, she was suspicious of him as he heavily resembled the police sketch from Nelida's recent kidnapping. Investigators confirmed that the gloves and hat belonged to Nelida. Rudy was also seen by another witness walking with Nelida, holding her hand. When questioned, Flores claimed the gloves and hat were some things that he picked up off of the street, but investigators grew even more suspicious when they found him carrying a fake police badge and a fake firearm. Still, there wasn't enough concrete evidence to connect him to her presumed abduction, and he was released. 8 years passed without much progress on Nelida's case, but then, in January 1985, her mother, Theodosia, thought she saw a picture of her daughter in a criminal's apartment. The man, David R. Collins, was once charged with kidnapping a teenager in California and sexually abusing other teens in New Orleans, Louisiana. Police found 25 pictures in Collins' apartment and released the photos to the public in hopes of identifying the children in them. Theodosia was called in to view the actual picture, and unfortunately, up close, she realized the girl in the photo was not her daughter. It is unknown if Collins was implicated in any further cases, but he's not connected to Nelida or Cecilia's case. Neither girl has ever been located, and there's been very little evidence left behind to aid authorities in their search for the two Hispanic girls. With witness testimonies against Rudy Flores, many believe he was the perpetrator behind both crimes. He was in the respective cities during each crime and was questioned for both instances. Some believe the girls were abducted by separate individuals, but most believe there's enough circumstantial evidence against Rudy to heighten the chances of his involvement. The medium theorized that Cesilia possibly deboarded her train one stop too early on accident, not paying attention to where she was. There, it's possible she encountered Flores, and why she trusted him enough to go with him without making a scene might be explained by what Nelida's family believes happened to her. Because Flores was found impersonating an officer of the law with a fake badge and gun, they believe he presented himself to Nelida as a policeman. A child, normally very untrusting of strangers, likely would have trusted someone she knew was there to protect her. The same might be true of Cesilia, who was seen being led by Flores and looked scared, but there was no mention of her making a scene. Still, Flores has, throughout each investigation, denied any involvement in the children's disappearances, though police still consider him a suspect. If he's telling the truth, however, the monster who led the girls away from safety is possibly still out there, nameless and preying on others. However, it seems for those who walk through life perpetuating their crimes and hunting those weaker than themselves eventually experience karma. Anthony Flores is reportedly serving a 50-year-to-life sentence in New York for a crime. The crime itself has been purported to be two different things, either the abduction, rape, and murder of a woman and her daughter, or the murder of a young girl. However, searching New York State's correctional records turns up no results for any variation of Anthony Flores serving a sentence for a crime that resembles either of the ones reported. And none of the former victims have ever been named, so it's difficult to say where exactly he is right now, but hopefully he is actually behind bars if he committed the crimes reported, or if he was involved in Nelida and Cecilia's disappearances. Hopefully one day the families of these young girls will finally gain justice and closure for years of pain and heartache. Cesilia and Nelida's disappearances are both classified as non-family abductions, and both are Hispanic females with brown eyes. Cesilia was 14 with black hair and had a scar on her forearm. She was last seen wearing a school uniform with a light gray jacket, gray plaid skirt, and a white blouse. If alive, she would be 54 years old today. Nelida was 9 years old with brown hair. She had pierced ears, spoke mainly Spanish, and limited English. She was last seen in a gold-colored coat, hat and gloves, dark blue slacks, black platform shoes, and a white pullover. Information on Cecilia's abduction should be directed to the New York Police Department at 646-610-6914. Information on Nelida's disappearance should be directed to the Boston Police Department at 617-343-4200. Thank you for watching the video. Exposure to cases such as Cesilia and Nelida's is highly important. Stay safe, friends, and have a good night.